This morning I met with some guys and we had our creative 12-step meeting, and every week I set a goal and then I share if I did it. And this is the first week that I've had this meeting that I didn't do it. My goal from last week was to write a poem about thru hikers, and I did a bunch of other stuff instead, namely watching YouTube videos. And it's easy with goals for me to feel like a constant failure all the time. Like I'm not publishing enough creative vlogs, I'm not writing the books fast enough, I'm not doing this massive to-do list that's in my head. And one of the things we listened to over this weekend was this talk about perfection versus good, and how there's a lot of emphasis, specifically in the Bible, with things being good, but them not being perfect. And actually this idea that things need to be perfect actually kills progress. And it was really helpful for me because I feel like I want to make this perfect thing, which has never happened and probably never will happen. And even once I do achieve perfection, which means that it can't be improved upon, then like it gets boring, because who wants to live a life where nothing gets improved upon ever? In other words, you can't change. I'll post a link to this podcast that I listened to down below if you're interested in checking it out. The good stuff doesn't start till 10 minutes in, but it's a short podcast. And actually today, I'm gonna have the kids share what they took away from that in terms of how they struggle with perfection in their own life. And maybe even Cammie will say a word or two.
If you're lucky.
What are you writing in there?
Had a good Shabbat.
Anything interesting?
Wouldn't you like to know? Okay, so most of this podcast I didn't really relate to, except for one part where it's this one part of perfection where you start a project and it's not really what you thought it was going to be or what you envisioned. So you just quit it, which happens to me like all the time. I've always like envisioned this thing that I'm gonna make, and then it's not the same, and then I just like drop it. So yeah.
The podcast was really cool and made me understand a lot of things a lot more. I usually don't listen as much to the podcast or pay really close attention to every single detail, but that podcast I was super into it and super really related to the guy and what he was talking about. And I felt it with a lot of projects that I have, like with video making or writing something. He said you can either do it perfect or good. If you do it perfect, then you can't make a mistake, which people always make mistakes, so that's going to be, super hard for you to do. But if you do it good, then you accept mistakes, and it could still be as good as perfect. You never know, And that's what I did with the AT documentary. I was like, this is going to be perfect. And I was like, I don't know where to start if I need it to be perfect, so I don't know how to do this. And I was waiting months and months because I didn't know how to make it perfect. And then I was like, well, I have to start this because we had a deadline where we were going to publish it. So I just started making it and was like, well, it's going to be good, hopefully. And it turned out a lot better than I thought it would. And that's happened with a couple other projects, and so, but I didn't really think it that way. I was just every once in a while I get in this mode where I'm I have to do this, not it's okay to make mistakes, and like it's never going to be perfect. That was really helpful for me, and it's definitely going to save a lot of time and energy for me with a lot of things. It's also really frustrating for me when I was like it's gonna be perfect. It's really frustrating. Like I can't start or anything, and it puts me in a bad mood and puts everyone else in a bad mood, and I just like put off the project for a long time. I'm really glad that my parents showed us this podcast.
So that perfection versus good, perfect versus good talk was pretty interesting. I really liked it. I liked how he described the difference between the two and how perfection, or what perfect looks like, isn't really what I think we want. And I like how he described it as like, how he described heaven as, I think a lot of people, he was like, I think a lot of people expect heaven to be perfect, but really he thinks it's gonna be good and like earthy and like just not perfect, but good. I think a way that I want things to be perfect in my life is through experiences and times I have that I want everything to go perfectly, and I have an idea of what I want it to go like in my head. And I think I have a hard time accepting that the time was just good and not like everything I imagined it. Yeah.
I really like trying to get things to be perfect. And I always felt like if you didn't make things perfect, that you were just lazy.
No, you don't got it yet. You have to practice.
And when we listened to this podcast thing, it kind of explained perfectionism in a way, like in a negative way, that I actually agreed with, because I've heard people say like, oh, perfectionism is like bad because of this, but I never really understood that. So when we listened to this podcast, I felt like there was like a good reason to not try to do perfect things all the time, or be perfect all the time.
This looks really good, and I'm very excited to eat this.
We're having chicken lettuce wraps. The lettuce is over there.
And there's the lettuce.
I got my new bike. It's out here. It's really big, and I'm really excited to ride it. And I hope it's a nice day tomorrow so I can ride it.
We are going swimming now at the YMCA. What do you guys think about my new fleece sweatshirt thing? I love this sign. I know you're wondering, like, it says 1966. Is that AD or BC, you're wondering? AD, they clarify. Tammy's swimming over there, Seven's there, Filia's there, Rainier's there, and I just finished. I like this sweater.
Advertising?
to watch, I'm hoping 2 episodes of Game of Thrones, but we'll see how people do. And when I say people, I mean...
And we're watching some
I don't want to stay up super late watching a show and then wake up and be super tired the next day.
Okay, well let's just start with 1, and we'll see where we go from there. Maybe you'll get hooked.
How that's gonna go.
And you probably saw there that we got some popcorn to pop, and there was a bit of complaining by certain people about that we got microwave popcorn instead of popping it ourselves, which I get it. Okay, yeah, less waste. But I was at the store and I was like,
3 bags of popcorn instead of just pop ourselves.
and I was thinking, I don't want to make popcorn after a long day and swimming, and maybe someone else would, but I didn't know if there would be someone else. So next time maybe we will pop our own popcorn.
no, we're having popcorn and what?
And popcorn. Yay!